Good day, it's November 4th in Ottawa and it's 17 degrees. It's not normally this warm in Ottawa, Canada at this time of year, but I'll take it. And today I'm going to show you what I'm doing with my endless summer hydrangea because it's just on the cusp of being hardy here. It is a hydrangea that is a macrophylla, so it blooms on old wood and new wood. And we'd like to have it bloom on old wood in the spring so that we can get blooms really early. But in order to do that, it has to overwinter properly and so that the buds don't dry out. And we have some pretty harsh winters, and usually, you know, we don't water through the winter. So we try to, one of the tips is to definitely water as late as you can and give it a good soak before snow coverage will insulate it. And the other thing is to protect it from the wind. So last year, what I did with my endless summer hydrangea was I just burlapped it and stuffed a bunch of leaves from the maple. And honestly, only not much of the wood survived. Like I think it was like 3 shoots survived. They all just like dried out, and so I don't know. So I had new growth come in and they still flowered about midsummer, and that was nice. But I'm gonna really try this time to do a strategy that I learned from Masters Gardeners of Ontario, well, my specific area, Ottawa. And okay, so I already started because I wanted to even see if it was possible to bring down the shoots. Like, they're sticking up, right? And the leaves were kind of still on, but I wanted to see if they would bend, and I didn't want to wait until it was too cold for them to bend and they would snap. So I tried this out like last weekend and they were pretty springy, but I was still worried they were gonna snap. So I put rocks on the far end. So I'll show you that. So this is my second year endless hydrangea macrophylla, and as you can see, I gently bent down all of the stems and laid down these heavy rocks on them because well, originally I wanted to use just like landscape staples, but I didn't think they were just so springy. Anyways, now they're less springy, so I tried lifting one up. So now it, you know, it's now used to staying because it's been a week now that I've had the rock on it. So I think, and like, look, there's some buds there. It's hard to see because of the sun a little bit, and buds there, and I just want them to survive. And I mean, do you put these shoots down when there's still leaves on it? I don't know. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything. They're gonna eventually just fall off. I just wanted to do it early enough in the last bit of warm air we have, because I found that they were more pliable. So what I can do now is forget about the rocks and put the landscape staples and see if that works. Bought these at Home Depot. And let's just see if the soil is still kind of, yeah. I can put, oh, I forgot to grab the other one. Working with one hand. Oh, I don't want to put it right there. I'll put it right here. So yeah, I'm obviously, I don't want to put it right where the buds are kind of growing. But I want to put it so it's closer to the center so that the rest of the leaves just fall flat. Coco approves this method. Okay. Oh, this one's really springy. See, the staples, they don't stay. Maybe if I put some over here first. Okay. So maybe keeping the rocks might be a good idea. I don't know. Okay, try that. Yeah, I should get remove these. this little guy. My mom got me that. Oh, this one too. Okay, there we go. Oh, that wind is actually nice. It's kind of hot. Like, it's t-shirt weathering. Okay, so I'm pinching them more towards the end than towards up here, just because they'll fly back up otherwise. And I mean, I guess I could leave the rocks. I just don't want, I still want there to be like breathing room, and the rocks are quite big and they're covering some of the buds. So I didn't want to do that. And of course, after, when it gets really cold, I'm going to put more leaves on it or peat moss. And that way, I don't want to do it too early, because apparently if you put peat moss or cover it up with burlap, peat moss, or leaves ahead of time, then you're making like a perfect little area for, you know, mice and voles and things to make a nest. And so we don't want that. The last one. So when it gets much colder at the end of November, I'm gonna come back and put some leaves on top and the peat moss perhaps. Heard good things about peat moss. I basically bought peat moss for the roses. And it's supposed to leave a lot of air in between or something like that, so it doesn't like rot. And I get a lot of rot in my backyard. It actually stays quite wet in this, I don't know why, but it doesn't dry out too much. So I'm not too worried about that. I want to protect it from anything that would eat it or like make a little nest in there. And so they say you could make a little like burlap covering over it as well, which I think I might do. I might make like a really angled teepee of burlap with the leaves inside or the peat moss inside. And I'll do that the very last week of November, depending on the weather, of course. Now, what we have here is my Zéphirine Drouhin rose. It's a climbing rose, and you know, it's hardy. And I'm just worried about the canes being up against the fence. I know that means it's like slightly protected, but we do get west wind, so it might get some of that impact, and I'm worried that again it's just gonna like dry out and the canes won't survive or something. And I thought, even though I haven't found anyone saying to bring them to the ground, I was like, well, if it works for the endless hydrangea, according to like a bunch of people who have tried it, maybe it'll work for these rose canes. And this is just 1 year growth, one season, and they're pretty, like, they're so long, I can definitely bring them down and pin them down. So I think I'm gonna try that. And I have two sets. I have this one, and I have a like yellow star climbing rose. So it's like a yellow rose on the opposite end over there. And I'm gonna pin them both down and put peat moss on top, and then weigh the peat moss down with like, I don't know, they say peat moss flies away sometimes, so I'll have to weigh that down with like compost, or maybe, I don't know, maybe like tiny rocks or something. So we'll see. But I'm just gonna weigh these down now. They're a lot more flexible than the endless summer hydrangea. Oh, and just so anyone's curious, it's not all hydrangeas that you have to do that to. It's just like, you know, the Macrophylla kind, those are the ones that are really beautifully colored, like pinks and blues and purples. I don't know, so those, but like all the other hydrangeas like Limelight that I have, and Incredible, which is like a type of Annabelle hydrangea, those don't seem to have a problem surviving at all. I don't have any oak leaf hydrangeas, but one day. And then roses, oh God. I'm scared that I even bought a rose because I'm just scared of roses in the sense that I hear that they're difficult to maintain and that is basically asking you to bring Japanese beetles into your garden. So it's like, yeah, I'm probably asking for it. Also, I do intend to do some pruning in the spring. Not right now, I'm just gonna like hope something survives. So even the canes that are shooting out away from the fence that I know like I don't want to get into the dogwood, I'm definitely going to be pruning those off, but I might as well just lay them all on the ground so they support one another and you know, insulate one another. And then I'll cut off the ones I don't want in the spring to give more energy to grow to the ones that are going to be growing up this fence. And I'm going to be doing a video because I did my homework, and I'm going to do a video of exactly which canes to cut out, which ones are the leaders, and how to shape the leaders up your trellis. This is like my little handmade trellis, and how to like pin them to the trellis so that the rose like stems come out away so that it looks like you have more roses. Yeah, so I'm gonna show you that in the spring. Okay, so I pinned everything down. Looks good. I'm gonna go do my other rows now. Also, maybe use some gloves when handling roses. The Zéphirine Drouhin hardly has any thorns, but this guy, on the other hand, has a lot. Oh dear. Yeah, there's a lot of cane that's just up in the air here, so I'm gonna definitely have to cover it up with a lot of peat moss there, and maybe even some burlap. Oops, I think I just stepped on a phlox. That's what happens when you chop things down a little too early. Okay, this one will come right down in front of the irises, right about here, and into this heuchera. Okay, I think that's all it needs, but I'm gonna keep my eye on it so that if they're like popping out in the landscape stables, they need more security, then I'll do that. And I'm just gonna wait until end of November to pack them in and tuck them in before winter. So I hope that helps explain how to protect them and overwinter. And the summer hydrangeas or Macrophylla, ones that are fussy about getting too cold in the winter and getting too dry mainly. And maybe climbing roses, maybe even regular roses. No, I don't think you can pin those down. They're probably, the canes are probably too short, I'm not sure. But it's just an idea, and we'll see if it works out perfectly. Because I want to, I want the roses to grow really well and spread out across my very, very ugly fence. Oh yeah, and lastly, don't forget to water. Water lots in the fall, and it'll save your perennials and shrubs and trees, especially if they're first, second years, for spring growth. So I'm gonna water my whole garden right now. Woohoo! So stay tuned until next time. Have a nice late warm fall.